间作战嘛，然后这一周突然就要当对手了，还是感觉上比较奇妙的。因为在之前和 EDG 合作的也都比较愉快，然后也都清楚他们的实力确实是很强的。对，只不过可惜的是，在洲际赛也没有看到我们777上场的身影，所以这一次希望能见到你吧。
Well, Zatai, you're going to have to beat the mini-boss if you want to get to the final boss at the end, if you want to bring Clearlove back onto the Rift. But that said, it seems like they're having difficulty handling that mini-boss in Haru's performance after that game 1. Now, before we go to our casters to get us into this game 2, we got to come back to you guys and talk about those predictions. We didn't get a chance to in game 1. Raz, you already said yours at the end of the previous one, so I'm actually going to start with you, Frosk. Who do you have taking the series?
I tipped on RNG.
Okay, and Raz?
Oh yeah, definitely EDG.
Ooh,
Why
well,
definitely? What makes you think? Well, no, he does this all the time. Do we have time?
He said it before game 1. Well, let's hear from our producers. Do we have time?
Do we have time?
We're getting a yes.
Okay.
Let's get it.
No, you do this all the time. You predict the team against RNG, who won MSI, who secured Rift Rivals, who took down All-Stars, who won Spring Split. Like, they're literally looking at grabbing the entire collection if they take Summer and then Worlds, something that no team has ever done before.
Crown.
Exactly, because Rift Rivals didn't exist when Faker was at his prime. Unfortunate.
Yep.
But, like, why? What then makes you look at this as like, ah, yes, that team that lost at Rift Rivals? I'll bet on them.
Let's bring it back. Raz?
Brack. Well, I will say, immediately, where's Uzi at? Where is the best ADK in the world? No, it's a big piece of that pie. Question? He ain't playing, that's why. So, EDG, recency, playing fairly well in Rift Rivals.
Yep.
And they're looking quite hot around with Haru. So, early game team, strong tempo versus a team that is trying out a Fnatic type style, and they need to get comfortable with it. That's gonna be a tough one for them. So they're looking past their opponents. Ain't gonna be good.
And it has worked for them in that game 1. That said, we've got one final voice to hear from, who's also going to share his predictions on this best of 3.
Even the dog picked the right team, Raz. What is your excuse?
Oh
with the dumbest music behind him, how am I supposed to take the dog seriously?
How does the music disqualify the opinion?
100%. If he's with the worst tune imaginable. That was the most untuned flute play ever.
The dog was actually playing the, what do they call it, the kazoo?
The recorder.
The recorder.
Yeah, that's the one. All right.
He didn't even take a second look at EDG. You know what? I'm liking my chances.
Well,
I'm sorry.
He was like, yeah, this team won MSI. It doesn't matter if they're not playing Uzi. They're still playing a god-tier roster.
Yes, well, that was WE's dog, Zach. He did tip for RNG, so now it's 2-1 in favor. But that said, it's time to find out whether or not there will be an upset or whether or not EDG can close this series out. Casters, it's all yours.
Oh, I'm just as confused as that dog at the moment. What is going on?
It's great. Oh, I love dogs of the LPL so much.
Hey, he's got the same name as you, Zach.
He does. Good bloke.
Let's get into champion select for game 2. Oh, that was a fiesta of itself of a desk, but Vladimir Swain as well as Aatrox being banned out by EDG. RNG are going to take away Camille, as well as Zoe taking away Haru's champion played in the last match.
Yeah, so coming back into this one, Camille taken away is a very big deal. Zoe does need to be removed from either of these teams, and Talia and Nocturne still up, still available. With that Camille gone, I would expect a Talia first here from EDG, but remember that Nocturne, still very high priority.
Let's see what their first pick is going to be. Gangplank was taken away by RNG as the final ban, but they still lock in Galio.
They're very high on this Galio, and we said this in the first game, you know, is it just the Camille that makes this work? And I guess we're going to get our answer for ourselves. Scout with a lot of confidence here.
We could still see Galio Rakan being played.
Absolutely. It's always a possibility. Mako even hovering that one last game, and if there is a Talia and a Nocturne available and you don't want to flex it, then it doesn't matter too much with your first pick. You can pick the Galio, maybe take it away from RNG.
I mean, if RNG are set on throwing Talia into Xiaohu's hands, you could still see Kasa pick up the Nocturne in the jungle, giving them 2 global ultimates to work with right off the bat.
Yeah, not quite your Twisted Fate Nocturne combo, but still has its merits in what it's able to do. Any kind of long-range damage or something that can complement the assassin that is a Nocturne. Be nice to have.
No substitutes coming out from either team just yet, so MLXG nowhere to be seen, no Abel being thrown in for RNG, no Clear Love just yet, but they do go towards the similar combination of the first match. Should be Xiaohu on the Taliyah unless Caster decides to pick it up, paired up with Ming's Shen.
And this is interesting because I do believe that fundamentally picking a Shen is a very good way to beat EDG as a team, right? It's always been the case if you cast your mind back to Worlds of 2017 when Scout was just inting his face off against Cloud9 because C9 knew Shen was the counter to him, right? So that was the strategy that they went with, and I like that in theory. I do like the idea. A lot of the premise here is that you're going to be denying burst champions like mid laners from making plays.
Is that the only thing that Shen brings that is a big counter to EDG, just stopping the burst?
It's the shield on the ultimate, the mobility, and the ability to get around the map. So EDG have to do things a bit more cohesively. You can't make small cross-map skirmishes. Usually, Shen will get there first.
But EDG do have ways to get into these skirmishes nice and early and very quick at that as well. Nocturne was locked in as their jungle of choice. They give away the Taliyah, but still get that powerful pick in the jungle. That could be comboed with the Galio pick, as Ivo will pick up an AD carry. Lucian thrown into the bottom lane.
And this is the other one. So it was a hover from Caster before. I was waiting to see if it would get locked in before we spoke about it. But Kindred, also very good at dealing with the likes of a Nocturne or the likes of EDG. And if you're going to run the Galio, you're going to go in an area. Well, Kindred can actually deny you getting the kills, and is actually one of those original picks that we saw as a counter to the Kaiser. Someone who wants to dive into the backline and assassinate you. Well, you can't now, and suddenly that AD carry is mispositioned. But we're curious to see how this one goes. Nocturne diving into the backline. If Kindred can get to level 6 perfectly fine, can diffuse perhaps that Nocturne's advances.
A little bit more aggressive coming out from Caster as well. We saw him get a few invades against Hara in the last match, but Hara got too many ganks off early for it to matter. Now if Kindred can stack up the passives, she also got a nice buff for herself recently in the last 2 patches, and has been showing up in competitive play. We saw the play by scored Rift Rivals.
I know it's not a big deal here, Fish, but I'm actually quite happy that the Darius was removed.
Do you think that the Darius ban against his eye is a big thing?
Yeah, the reason that it's funny to me, like if there's a Kindred that's keeping everyone alive, it's keeping them alive on no health. And if you're a Darius, you're just sitting there and your mouth's just watering at all of the low health resets that you're staring at. So you're able to get those kills. And I mean, it's a good ban, it's a little detail, right? At the end of the day, I like the bans in the second ban phase here.
Tom Kench as well as Rakan with the bans that came out from RNG to take away 2 pieces of the Mako puzzle, denying the Rakan Galio synergy as well as the protection for iBoy, which is quite crucial for the EDG's bottom lane the last match.
You mentioned the combo and I agree with that. Rakan is one of those big tools available for them. Makes you wonder what they'll go for with it. Is the cannon perhaps something that they'll look at and just go the AP cannon route, jump into the backline, and the Galio is just there to protect him with the damage reduction that the ultimate provides? Or is it going to be something like the Nocturne? Because that is already one of the combos that they've got there, but it's a pretty hard force onto a single target.
But I'm actually rather excited to see the Taliyah Shen lane, because into a Tahm Kench, it doesn't mean too much unless you can get a kill onto the Kench itself. Without that protective support, iBoy could be in some trouble, but EDG could go straight back towards another protective support of Morgana. Gragas was locked in as RNG's 4th pick in this match.
The Gragas lock in against some disengaged Caster. And the side of RNG, I think that's actually going towards Ming this time. We'll have to see. Let me, of course. Gragas can go towards top lane. There's still some flexes available for them. Gragas is a good pick for exactly that reason. That's a Maokai.
Being locked in very early. They have to show their hand here. That should be range champion you'd expect on the top side of the map. Wow. Unless they're getting creative with a support Maokai pick, but hovering the Alistar. A strong pick for Mako.
No, with the Rakan gone, with the Tahm Kench removed, Alistar is one of the next best options available for them. Fiddlesticks if you want to go for a bit more of a wombo aggressive and, you know, get over walls, maybe control your lane a bit more, but they've chosen the Alistar. Mako has chosen the Alistar.
I'm also very curious about this Maokai pick. It's been some time since we've seen the tree in the top lane.
I mean, it's guaranteed lockdown. It's something that is always going to be very useful. When you look at the composition of RNG, we haven't seen what their AD will be yet. Of course, you assume that Xiaohu will be playing down there in that bottom lane as the Taliyah, but everything still needs to be locked in. So, I mean, Maokai's just a safe tank in the top lane. The chance is RNG, they'll try and play something aggressive against it, though.
And they lock in Fiora to do just that. Let Me will have his hands in that champion in the top lane, or is it going to be Tatai that decides to take the Fiora against him?
We don't really know. We'll have to see how they play this one out, because even whatever champions are locked in, They can go anywhere on the map. It's two top laners that can go back and forth. Zatai is that carry player.
And he could go into the mid lane still up against Galio.
Yeah.
That's something we've seen before.
Absolutely. So that's what you would most likely expect here, right? You've got yourself a Galio into a Fiora. OMG have been playing it at every possible opportunity into the Galios that are against them. They play that Fiora mid. Can snowball team fights super hard. They've also got the double healing area, the double circles of healing with a Kindred ultimate and a Fiora ultimate if you get all 4 vitals procced or the target dies with the ultimate on them. So it's a very strong team fighting composition here from the side of RNG if they get themselves the kills. If they don't, then it's not at all.
For the side of EDG, they're looking at the exact same thing, because in the first match, there was 2 team fighting compositions that were brawler heavy, who were looking for fights wherever they could. It was brawl heavy to start the match, and it just erupted in team fights that went in EDG's favor, especially with the gold lead that they had acquired. It's the same thing going to happen in this match.
It's a similar thing. Ultimately, like when you look at the differences between these comps as well, EDG is just going to be going forwards trying to use a combo. I think the major difference in this one will be that there is teleport flanks as a higher priority for the Maokai. So ultimately, they've got the Galio to stand in front to go with the Nocturne as a combo. When you look at the bottom lane duo, Lucian and an Alistar, they're going to fend for themselves. It's going to be going forwards. That's the momentum-based game that EDG want to play here. The mid-game strengths that they want to have here. RNG can choose to defuse. They can choose to take the skirmishes if they would like. And they can choose to 1-3-1 later on into this game if they get the ball rolling in that regards.
It's going to be all about who executes this strategy better. We saw that EDG were not only able to set up for their own plays, but also dissect the plays that RNG threw at them in game 1. Now RNG have a few unique tools, with Fiora potentially going to the mid lane, even the Kasa picking up Kindred in the jungle. Could definitely change the way this match plays out. But EDG looked like the well-oiled machine we know they can be in game 1, and will be definitely trying to keep up the pace going into match 2, trying to take home a victory during cross-conference against their rivals RNG. Let's get onto the Rift for game 2. I couldn't wait, Rusty. Normally you wait for the signs to clash, the 2 logos.
They're too excited. You can hear the crowd still trying to chant. Usually the teams will go back and forth, blue side first, but
nah, RNG stole it.
Yeah, often the fans of these teams will also chant in support of their players. They just get too excited. They got to jump in there first. And in this case, RNG, electric, trying to support their own team as they are 0-1 down against EDG in a rivalry for the ages.
Trying to send this one to game 3 as well. Quite frankly, I'd be happy with that one. It's been a good match so far. But RNG start this one with a delayed invade against red buff. So Kindred's going to try and take away that camp nice and early. They push out the jungler of Nocturne from the side of Haro. And it should be an easy red buff secure coming out from RNG.
Looks like a relentless pursuit started from iBoy as well on his Lucian. He killed the ward very quickly down there in the bottom lane. Kasa is also going to be spotted, so no level 2 ganks are available for them. No cheese to be seen. Thank you, observers, for fixing that one up for us. And we can see where the lane assignments have panned out to be, Fish.
Yeah, Zatai will be going into the mid lane against Scout's Galio. On the top side of the map, we'll see Gragas going up against Maokai Haro.
That was 80-20, by the way, in the who will win game 2 graph. Ooh, that's very surprising. EDG still with a massive following. RNG still the heavy favorites.
You'd expect it to be the case for some time, after the miraculous run not only during spring, but also taking on the MSI crown. Rift rivals as well, picking up the victory there. Haro goes from his own wolves straight over to red buff, takes that as fast as possible to deny getting 3 buffed by Kasa.
Notice that Ray places that ward very deep in the bush. Yes. Instead of putting it at the closest possible place, gets more vision of the Krugs and ensures that no one can sneak those away. And it's the little details when it comes to vision that means a great deal.
Good news for Haro as well. This Scuttle Crab was the one that was marked by Kindred's passive. So he'll be able to take that down, deny the early stack for Kindred. But Kasa's not going to be too phased. Moves straight back into Haro's jungle, looking to take away Raptors, but a good ward. And to be able to spot him out, so Haro does the exact same thing, just farming opposite sides of the map.
Yeah, vertical jungling from both respective players. You mentioned the mark, so that's a good start here for EDG in that respect. And bottom lane, nice flick.
Double shove. iBoy takes a lot of damage. And Mako gets a good disengage as well to keep him safe. But that's what we expect to see a little bit more, especially without the Tom Kench. But this is going to be a very early dive. There is a ward to spot out Haro.
Yeah, but they saw the ward placed because they had one of their own earlier. Let Me zoned away from the turret. Scout now reveals himself. The dive is on. Zatai's got teleport, so keep that in mind. I don't know if they can do this.
No Q available for Nocta, but the taunt's going to come through first. Teleport being channeled, but it's not going to be enough. EDG with the early dive. They pick up a kill in the top lane.
And that was a late teleport from Zatai. If he used it preemptively to defend his top lane, and maybe things would be a little bit different. But notice, on the opposite side of the map, Karsa is here, and he's making the difference. They're going to get some damage onto this turret as well.
There's teleport available for Scout, but no wards to get into a flank against RNG, so he should head straight back into the mid lane. Actually, Let Me's going to move into the mid lane for RNG now. Going to farm a bit of the resources there after the teleport from Zatai, top side of the map, but things going well for EDG after the dive top lane. They do sacrifice a bit of CS in the bottom side of the map, but we get to take a look at it again.
Basically, we're looking at the window of opportunity for Zatai to come up and assist his top lane. The spells we use to try and clear the wave, maybe get the minions away from the turret as well, make things easier for him, but it didn't happen. And one minion is all it takes.
Very nice combo of crowd control coming out from EDG. They channeled the taunt from Scout. Let Me had flash available, but Ray locks him down with the point and click route. Normally you see that from Maokai after he tanks the turret to disengage and drop the aggro of the turret, but he locks him down for the longer duration of taunt.
You know, I think above all else, it's more that Scout was freed up from that middle lane to come and assist in the dive in top side without teleporting, just from walking up. So a level 4 Galio, able to free himself up from that middle lane, does wonders for EDG, where they don't have the Camille this time around, so you wouldn't expect they have the early ganking at all.
Is the time meant to be able to lock him down in this mid lane? Is this a hard counter matchup for Fiora almost?
Not this early into the game by any... I mean, a lot of Fioras win at level 1, but it's such a short lane in mid that you can't win as hard as you do in top lane. So Galio also has a lot of wave clear with his kit inbuilt into it. There's Ming looking for bottom lane, but there's a cleanse on the Eye-Boy.
Karsa's here as well. Haro is in Fog of War, trying to engage onto Karsa. Throws down the Wolf, looking for some damage, gets away from the Tether as well. Meanwhile, Mako engages onto Xiaohu. That's the full combo of Alistar done. They can't quite make up their minds though. Just going to hit each other a couple of times and stare each other aggressively.
There's the mean look at one another, saying, you won't engage, you won't engage.
That's a garbage Pokemon move.
I wouldn't know, Fish. I don't have that garbage Pokemon.
They're still going at it though. Tether comes down from Haro. Good damage coming out from Karsa. Even flashes away, but Scout follows through. Big pickup for EDG.
Karsa's pre-6. He used the flash early, so they catch him out of position. Super good stuff here from EDG. Namely from Haro and Karsa finding each other, but EDG collapsing faster to help their jungler means that he'll always win those trades. As Let Me in a spot of trouble here.
He's level 5 on this Gragas. Body slams away from the ultimate.
Make him flash, Ray. Hit him.
Smack him with your big tree trunks. Gets the twisted advance and finally forced the flash over.
I think Ray just presses the W and is like, you wouldn't flash, just do it. And he gets him out of the pit. He's going to have to go back to base this time. Both summoners unavailable now for RNG's top laner, whereas Ray has got the teleport of his own. Now, he doesn't have the ultimate. It doesn't mean a great deal if there's an Alistar also available, perhaps, to enable that dive at the get-go.
He's already getting good damage on the Xiaohu. Stun's going to come up. Xiaohu's been ignited, but not enough damage, not enough mana for Eye-Boy to continue chasing.
Yes, but you know who can chase once he ticks over to level 6 is Haro. At those Krugs moving to red buff right now, level 5. You would expect if it's not red,
that'd be 6
then
if
it's red and the Raptors.
Oh, it should be. He's at halfway to level 6, a full level above Karsa at the moment.
See how much this gives, because I think red and Raptors may be... Yep, red and Raptors will be 6. Well, oh, actually, there's only one there. Hello. Never mind.
Not red and one
away.
Raptor, red and Raptors. Oh my, I'm getting dizzy.
This is where Karsa dies from a different angle. Scout, of course, just flashing forwards and hitting the taunt. Smacks him down as well with the double fist. So, Hurry will get 6 from this camp. We'll pretend that Raptors never existed, because they didn't.
I am very upset by that replay angle. I'm already having a headache. I don't need to be nauseated as well. Spinning around on top of that little kill.
You know what we didn't mention is that after that first kill on the top side, Scout had a catalyst already completed. He was super strong very early, rushing that Rod of Ages right now also. And when he ticks over to level 6 for himself, now level 7, the chances of their dive working here for a Nocturne and Galio, especially when that Galio is so large, starts to increase. And simply because the damage that they have is overwhelming.
Well, they're trying to target out Karsa here. They know that he leashed away the red buff. That might reset, but does get it in time. Allows Caster to tick over to level 6 as well, but you're right, the combo is available for EDG. And you'd assume that bottom lane is where they try to target that, but RNG have other ideas. iBoy still level 5. Xiaohu gets good damage. Great Torp Flash! Cleanse! Gets iBoy away.
He's going to survive as well. The Ignite doesn't tick down. Ray also coming to teleport.
Scout's going to be here as well. Winds of War comes through. iBoy sticking around. Rather dangerous for the Lucian, but wants to try and get an assist. Doesn't get it, but EDG turn it around.
Yeah, now that was a really big deal that they used the Ignite as well as the crowd control at the same time, because the cleanse gets rid of the damage of the Ignite, lets him flash to safety, and EDG very easily get the counterplay off. They still haven't used the Nocturne ultimate, but they don't need to because Scouts are gone.
All right, he's going to jump in straight away. Culling thrown out by iBoy. Doesn't want to tank this turret, but early stopwatch being used by Xiaohu. Satai's here as well. Blast Cone going to be able to get them all over to safety, but they don't go. They try to go for the fight instead. 3-on-3 inside a choke point. Scout's going to try and jump in as well. Only gets the knock up onto Let Me, but they'll just Blast Cone over. Back to safety.
The team escape move there, so they hold onto the Blast Cone. They try and, have a crack at making the play, but it's not going to find the kills. They don't gain anything from it. In fact, RNG are the ones who gain a lot of turret damage on the top side of the map. Casa able to freely farm this entire time.
Still lots of credit going to the EDG at the moment. Their teamwork has been pristine so far in the 2 matches we've seen from them today.
A lot of cohesion coming from them so far. This is game 2 of the best of 3 with EDG being 1-0 up. So to still look this strong in the second game with a different composition, very promising start for them as they're just duking each other out.
Get out of this lane, please. I don't want to see them ever again after that last move.
I think our Scout actually wants to recall for his Rod of Ages. He should have that done, and 10-minute Rod is exceptionally fast.
You want to be stacking that up as soon as possible. Get into the mid-late game fights with a little bit more health and ability power. They haven't used the combination yet. We saw Haro dive in and then Scout after. We haven't seen a massive play coming out from EDG yet. That was reactive to the dive that was being presented by Ray. But now teleports are down for Scout as well as Ray. Latmes is down, only Tsai has his teleport available. With those global ultimates down as well, both teams are going back to farming for now. It is Cloud Drake. It's neither team making an aggressive advance just yet.
Now they spotted the Nocturne here. Scout still wants to recall, so they're not going to look towards diving mid lane just yet. It's about freeing up each other. Support and jungle are roaming together. Mako and Haro working together means that the vision is more threatening from EDG. Of course, iBoy just freely farming on the bottom side of the map. This is what it's been all set from him.
It's not much for iBoy so far, because you were talking about Mako going to assist Haro. iBoy's actually 25 CS behind Xiaohu.
Yeah, Xiaohu's been doing quite well. Of course, the early pressure has still been mounted up very nicely from RNG. Between a Talia and a Shen, naturally, they'll have a lot of kills, right? So, and it's good to see that at least paying off in a CS lead, and the amount of times that iBoy perhaps could have died but didn't. Things could have been a lot worse for him down there.
Well, how do you think Ming's been looking so far in this split? Because he's worked with Xiaohu a few times whenever Uzi is being funneled, and now that Zatai is playing in the mid lane for RNG and Xiaohu rotates into the bottom lane for these matches. How do you think he's been playing so far with RNG's mid lane?
I mean, Ming's still been looking great so far this split. Of course, a lot of the differences here is that his playstyle isn't entirely lane focused. This is one of those few gems where you actually get to see Xiaohu and Ming laning together. So far they've had control of the lane, but really it hasn't been as interactive as a normal 2v2 would be either way, as there's been Mako everywhere but the bottom lane as well. So, I mean, at the end of the day, this has been a pretty big statement set from Mako, showing that he's still keeping up with what we have said is now the best in Ming.
Lots of people think that Ming has overtaken Mako in that support position as the best, but you're right, Mako has been good so far in this match. Nothing exceptional so far from either support, but they've been playing well. Lots of assistance going towards Haro.
Yeah, I'd love to see that mid lane as well, actually, here. Haro picking up that Herald. A great opportunity presents itself to break the structure and keep Fiora in lane for a little bit longer. But look at how quickly RNG are on the rotate.
Trying to get into the mid lane themselves. Caster is here.
They're freed up through that 2v2 as well. You noticed the CS lead earlier. It's continuing to grow, and now they go bottom looking for iBoy. He's just found him.
Lane. Don't think he got spotted out yet, but now they'll know exactly where he is. Good paranoia. Denies the vision onto the AD carry of EDG. Forcing RNG to retreat. A defensive ultimate coming out from Haro.
Still very well done from Haro to protect his allies. Most Nocturnes would follow that one as well if they saw a chance. He doesn't find it. Just saves his AD as 3 people use the Blast Cone and get over that wall. End result, nothing actually comes from it. The cooldown's being used.
A lot invested from RNG to get to the bottom lane. Lots of wards placed down deep into the red buff of EDG's jungle. And a simple ultimate from Haro is going to stop that. iBoy, despite falling behind in CS, Rusty, 30-odd CS behind Xiaohu, has been attacked for most of this match, been left alone by Mako, and has still survived. Not a single kill onto the Lucian yet.
He's been doing quite well to stay alive at all, of course. Honestly, whilst the rest of his map has been moving around, doing a lot of work, a 2-0-1 mid laner in Scout is where the difference will be made in this game. It's still not an easy thing for Scout to win his lane, however, especially when Zatai finishes off that Ravenous Hydra that you would expect shortly. It'll be very hard to push out. Top
That's
lane.
Aggressive, but big outplay coming out from Ray.
Yeah, Ray just presses the Twisted Advance, and there's no cask available from Leppy. Nice little work there from Maokai.
Yep, can't be hit while he's in his Twisted Advance. Ray's able to dodge away from the ultimate as Let Me, but used Flash to close the distance with Body Slam there. Castle was waiting for a gank, almost felt a little bit forced coming out from RNG.
Yeah, no kills to be seen at the end of the day. Ray has also been having a very good game so far, controlling the top lane, teleports to the bottom lane, has been all the right places at all the right times, as the team has worked around him as well to get those early kills, and that's someone that we'll have to continue to watch. It's 1-0-1, and we mentioned Scout perhaps being locked in lane. Well, there's always a possibility to unlock him through bringing resources from those other lanes to Scout. He's fed enough that he'll be doing an abundance of damage, if nothing else.
He's got his Rod of Ages stacking with Ninja Tabby as well, so it's fairly safe in this mid lane. Even a stopwatch to deny any potential dies by going invulnerable if something takes place in that mid lane. But he does want to be unlocked to try and help out with plays like this, where Rift Herald's being thrown into the bottom lane by Haro. Does not have his ultimate available, so he cannot close the distance. But a single charge from Rift Herald will be enough to take down this turret.
You can't shove that one away, Xiaohu. The charge is going to happen once Shelly has set her feet down. The turret falls. It wasn't used in mid lane though, so they push towards the bottom lane. They get the turret up, and you know, most of the time you'd look at that and you'd say, Shelly, Rift Herald should be used for mid lane, but freeing up Mako is the biggest win of all.
And you were talking about if Scout can't be freed in the mid lane, maybe you free him up by sending more resources there. Taking out that bottom lane turret means that EDG can now allocate those resources as such. Mako, iBoy, even Haro rotate into the mid lane, and actually moving straight towards top side of the map as well.
And it's not a mage in that middle lane. Of course, there is still the Ravenous Hydra. There's some wave clear from the Fiora. But it's not a mage, it's not ranged wave clear, and when everyone threatens you is right now Top's threatened.
Paranoia teleport came out before the ultimate, but they're trying to lock down Let Me. Way too much damage to Ty. He's getting caught amongst it as well. Use the riposte to try and get away. Scout tanking a lot of damage from this turret. Pops the stopwatch to stay alive. Mako now trying to take up as much as possible. They flick back Scout. Good damage there. Mako's forced to flash away as well. RNG going to try and pursue this fight. Talia throws out the ultimate just to close this. As Xiaohu though diving in a little bit too deep. Gives iBoy that kill. EDG take that for themselves.
You don't want that, Xiaohu, but of course there is a minimum distance that a Talia has to travel on the wall if you choose to take the journey. That is the unfortunate ending of Xiaohu's life. Disengage.
Bit him twice, Rusty.
From RNG.
In two different games. First time, too short.
Yeah, in two very different ways, actually, in this case, though. So he goes down, he dies both times. Either way. RNG, it was a nice little counterpunch from them, however. They were in the right place. They understood where EDG were going. They couldn't get there in time to really save their top laner, though, in Let Me. He takes a whole lot of damage and dies from the get-go. But a great riposte keeps Scout under the turret. Whilst his stopwatch prevents the Shen from hitting a taunt, he's still way too deep, and iBoy just culls the air in celebration. Of course, they want to disengage from here. Xiaohu says, no, you shall not. But then also says, I want to disengage, and EDG are like, fantastic. We'll take that 300 gold in the kitty.
RNG were not paying for that. Sorry, EDG were not paying for that wall. It was RNG that were forced to after that. Xiaohu did get to deal a lot of damage during that fight itself, but still a fight that goes in favor of EDG. No major structures taken off the back of that. Cloud Dragon's going to spawn in another 25 seconds.
And a team effort there from EDG when you look at the damage dealt in that fight. Ray's still doing a whole lot, considering that he's playing a tank. But when a tank is far enough ahead, he'll be doing a whole lot of base damage regardless, and he'll get more rotations of those spells off without having to disengage.
That play was exactly what you were talking about earlier, Rusty. EDG allocating the resources mid to free up Scout so that Haro and Scout could use the combo. Not as clean as they would have liked, but they still come out ahead. They've been able to reset. Nocturne's ultimate is available. Scouts is still on cooldown at the moment.
And I would like to see EDG still try and threaten this mid lane outer turret as best they can. With a Fiora and what would be a Kindred trying to defend it, that is a hard thing to do. But what RNG have done to counteract that is they've brought the Talia to the mid lane instead. They finally brought the wave clear over. And now they put the Fiora in that bottom lane. The 1-3-1 perhaps begins here. And that does mean that Scout is freed up just as much as Zatai is. That's your concern here. If you're Royal Never Give Up.
It's been a bit of an ARAM so far with some split pushing across the map.
Scout is far more free than that of Zatai as well because the tower is dead.
He'd be happy.
Bottom lane. And if Scout's free in the grand entrance.
He hasn't been unlocked out of the mid lane for some time. iBoy taking a bit of damage there.
He's got some life steal. He should be okay as long as no more damage hits him.
And it seems like Mr. iBoy here might be going towards a Trinity Force later.
Yeah, I'm really waiting to see when that
I'm
just
curious.
finishes. Essence Reaver also
Essence
builds
Reaver,
out of
yes.
those. So we'll see. Of course, he went for the Mana Crystal early, which is what is curious.
Very early Essence Reaver coming up from iBoy, not going forwards the Black Cleaver first. He's been pushed away from this fight.
I mean, EDG is still getting the dragon. What they've actually got here, RNG, is mid-priority. They've got a chance to fight here, but teleports are in.
Flanking teleport coming out from Raid. Paranoia comes out from Haro. That just deters RNG for pushing further forward. They pick up a Cloud Dragon for themselves, tying up the Elemental Dragons of the match, but still only 1,000 gold that separates the two teams. They are forced to use teleport to secure that.
Yeah, it freaks them out. That's all the Paranoia was really there for. Teleport's also used to defend that middle lane. RNG had mid-priority. Through the way that that fight started, EDG routed themselves to try and secure the dragon. And for a Cloud Drake, that was a high cost. RNG are able to get some trades on the opposite side. This is a very close game here, Fish, at 20 minutes in contrast to that of game number 1.
Yep, small wins going in favor of RNG there. Yes, EDG get a Cloud Dragon, but they're happy to take both teleports for it, as well as deny the Paranoia for some time. And you're right, the kills still look very similar to what we saw in the first match, when Haro was able to aggressively gank, picked up a very similar kill score. In this match, it's 5-1, but it's only led to a 1,000 gold lead from EDG. RNG have been able to react to the plays thrown their way quite effectively so far, but they're still not out of the woods yet. They still have to find a way to take the gold lead for themselves. With Baron spawning now, there's a chance for these two teams to start fighting around that objective.
And we can confirm that it is the Essence Reaver that's going to be picked up by iBoy second. So not going towards the Black Cleaver either, which is seen more often than not. I know that every Lucian has their own style of play. iBoy and SMLZ, the two absolute gods of Lucian so far this split that have made the MVP plays as their team demanded in those moments. iBoy's got his chance in the spotlight once again, perhaps to make that play, as he's the only AD carry really in this game. Kindred counts to a degree.
Kinda. I know why he's gone for the Sapphire Crystal first as well. Doesn't need to buy wards. He's being lazy. He's filled up his item slots.
Oh, yes, right. Sorry, I was going to say he does need to buy wards, but now he can't.
He can't.
Yeah.
He has to sell an item. That's just inefficient if you're the AD carry of the team.
Sorry, Mako, you're going to need another control ward. I'm unable.
Unfortunate.
RNG are also unable.
Full slots for most of their team. I mean, you've got one control ward for Let Me, one for Ming at the moment. Control of the mid lane is currently back and forth. Turrets are both up.
That's a lot of control wards right there, so Haro's going to take a lot of time to clear those if he chooses to threaten it.
8 auto attacks to clear all those control wards. RNG defend both, but EDG take down a top lane outer turret, increasing their gold lead, as well as opening up top side of the map. RNG's Let Me is going to try and respond in the bottom lane.
And this is the second time that Let Me by himself has tried to respond. And when you really put that into context, EDG are grouping up. They're bringing Ray to the fights. They're trying to bring more members to assist. And that does give Let Me time, but it means that EDG are more threatening as the grouping of people when they make the plays.
Well, finally that turret falls. Ray actually trying to fight.
I mean,
we shouldn't watch this. I mean, their 00 designation, if they were secret agents, wouldn't be licensed to kill. It's just licensed to annoy at the moment.
Licensed to tickle.
Pretty much. Just back off, stop fighting. Ray's ultimate's now down. And that's that's RNG capitalizing on the teleports being burnt by both Ray as well as Scout when they forced the Cloud Dragon fight.
Yep.
So it doesn't give them an advantage, but at least they stay even when it comes to turret trades. Still 2-1 in turrets in favor of EDG, 5-1 in kills, but when you see that sort of a lead, 23 minutes into the match, you don't think 1,000 gold only. That should be much more for EDG, but RNG been able to take pieces back every time EDG push forward. Very similar to the last match, but this time much better.
And it felt like in that first game that we just didn't see Xiaohu at all. You know, there was a Talia running around, but it didn't feel like it had an impact. And already in this second game, Xiaohu has had more of an impact. He's been at the right place at the right times, and an unfortunate mechanical mistake definitely did get him killed, but he was there early for the first place. You know, he's doing a lot more for the team. iBoy's had a rough laning experience through all of this. There's no Tahm Kench to keep him alive anymore, and suddenly things do look better for RNG. Of course, we're at 23 minutes in the game though, so when you look towards the Baron, I would favor EDG's composition for taking that one down. That's what I would be looking at.
Why so? Why is EDG's composition favored when taking down the Baron?
Well, they've got the Blade of the Ruin King for the Lucian, so that is the first and foremost big thing there. Of course, having the Essence Reaver means that you don't run out of mana. You can spam your spells and double tap very consistently. They also have the tanks of Ray and Mako to not lose health at the objective, and a Nocturne Paranoia to scare RNG away. One
thing that RNG do get is Casa on his Kindred pick. That is able to stop Baron from being smited by Haro. If it comes to a one-on-one smite contest, you can throw that down, smite after the ultimate's being used, but I'm pretty sure both these players know how to play around that quite effectively. That's going to help out with the dives that's going to come in from Nocturne as well together. Throw down the ultimate. Make sure you keep members alive, but EDG going to try and make an aggressive play for this turret. Ray's taking up the turret. iBoy's trying to get as much damage as possible, but just knocks it down to about half health.
I mean, if you do that every single time, next time Maokai's got the ultimate up, and there's a lot of... Oh, hang on.
Trying to go aggressive. Taunt Flash coming out to Ray, but Galio's going to throw down his own ultimate, making sure he keeps the top lane tank of EDG alive. Tatai trying to teleport in, but now has a flank himself. Great wall being built. Paranoia trying to deny vision, but they get a double stun onto Casa. Knocked away. Haro jumps in, but Casa will be able to throw down the ultimate in time, keeping everyone alive. They heal back up. Stopwatch is being used. Haro forces a flash away, gets a good blast going over, and now Casa's in trouble. Look at iBoy dashing over the wall. Doesn't get enough damage. Good shield going to come out from Ming. Still an extended team fight, and iBoy's trying to dash around. Not going to be enough. RG will be able to turn it around. Ray's last member standing. They get the kills, and all of them going to RNG.
It felt like 5 different fights happening at the same time, but RNG come out on top, and EDG, they lose everything that they're after. This gives a great opportunity for the Royal Never Give Up roster to run straight over to that Baron. Teleports available from Scout and Ray, but 25 seconds. RNG is still going to give this one a red-hot crack.
Smite is available for Haro, but no way for him to get inside this Baron pit. Looked like EDG were controlling most of this match, and whenever they set up for the plays, they're normally able to execute. This time around, they botched the play. Ray was caught out, and RNG force a fight. Force it well, too.
EDG set up to threaten the turret, perhaps not even take it down, and then unfortunately Ray gets flung towards the Shen Taunt, and then Ray gets separated with Scout. The rest of EDG cannot come in to assist. They get split up by that Talia wall. Xiaohu does split himself up in the end, but it doesn't matter too much. Letme's got it covered. And then Mako comes in, tries to assist, Flash Pulverize, but he doesn't really do the correct thing there. He misses the Pulverize, headbutts Casta to safety, and then Nocturne in an awkward position. iBoy also goes for the kill, but it's dodged out, and Ming comes in to save him. All of these little details in this fight, these mini skirmishes, and stopwatches used left, right, and center, bought so much time, and that was time that RNG needed.
Big flanking teleport coming out from Tatai. Tried to teleport towards the turret, cancelled it. Just walked up the river instead to make sure he can assist the team in that fight. You mentioned it, botched plays coming out from EDG. Didn't have the crucial summoners, but the game is not over yet. Baron goes over towards RNG. They're only holding on to a 2,000 gold lead, expected to go up to 3,000 after this mid lane outer turret falls.
EDG even stepping up to try and defend this turret shows how confident they are still feeling, all things considered. In that last fight, there was a lot of things used to try and threaten the mid lane outer turret of RNG before the fight actually happened. So there's a chance that you get the front and center 5v5 happening here with everything available, and that makes you wonder who'd come out on top, because it's still the Nocturne Galio combo.
We'll find out next time in America's Next Top Model. And RNG going to try and push through mid lane, take down mid lane outer turret, get a small objective for themselves, and finally take the turret lead for their team. They got an Mountain Dragon earlier on as well, so 2 Elemental Dragons to 1 is still 2 minutes of Baron buff to work with. Seems like they want to try and target the bottom lane and top lane inner turrets. Red buff is the next target. Caster picks it up nice and easy.
Yeah, they're taking the very obvious and very easy objectives to take with that Baron buff. Mid lane outer turret was very clearly going to fall down. They went to blue buff, they came back to mid, took the turret, then they went to the enemy red. The hard part is the inners. It's past the point of the outers, can they take something? And that's where you have to force the fights.
Well, here is the rung. Let me. First in KDA for top laners in the LPL. First when it comes to damage percentage out of top laners.
He's been a beast.
He has been a beast. He was a beast at MSI, one of the unsung heroes, being able to assist in RNG picking up that victory.
The Rock in the top lane. He had the Ornn. This time around he's got the Gragas. So still being a super tank for the team, but also has those fantastic engages, and that's what you're looking at for Let Me right now. Doesn't have the flash. He has still got the cask that he can throw out.
Playing well on his Gragas so far. Has been targeted by EDG by a couple of dives into the top lane. But RNG able to use more of that Baron buff to push for a further advantage. Now 5,000 gold ahead of EDG by taking down some small objectives here and there.
Yeah, splitting apart EDG on the map has opened so much opportunity for them to just threaten these structures. Caster still playing the role of AD carry, of siege engine in this particular case for RNG, as once again EDG, they're separated.
Good taunt. Mako's forced to use the ultimate, but RNG take down the turret. Still going to be able to chase down this Alistar. His ultimate will wear off shortly. Ibo's going to try and counter this, but they kill Mako. Took some time, but the support is dead.
And try as Iboy might, he's not going to save his support. RNG Baron has just worn off. But with that kill, they've got all of the time in the world to just continue to push in the top side. EDG have got a Nocturne bottom who's not using the ultimate. No Ray to come and assist this. They're just letting the inhib go.
Inhibitor in the top lane is going to fall. Iboy's still trying to get damage wherever he can. Ray's looking for a flank, not going to get there in time. Zatai did some decent work on that bottom lane inhibitor turret.
And that's going to continue to happen. RNG's composition can bring Let Me to the team, and they can send Zatai to the side lane, something he's very familiar with, of course, the top laner of RNG. Able to play those split pushes, and I feel like this is one of those points in the game where when you actually look at what the compositions can do, from the moment Baron was secured, EDG are very hard strung to find a single option, a single avenue into this game besides a very well executed fight that's forced. But you can't force fights when RNG are just separating the map and splitting you apart.
Can never count them out. If they do find that fight though, EDG are known to be able to take it even when tens of thousands of gold behind. Iboy is scaling up. Essence River complete, looking for the Black Cleaver next, has a Zeke's Harbinger being picked up by Mako to buff him up even further.
They also didn't have Summoner spells though, Fish. That's the big concern. If you want to engage right now, Nocturne can go in. He's got the Guardian Angel now, but it was a broken stopwatch just prior. Mako could not flash Pulverize and find anyone, but with EDG Summoner spells comes RNG Summoner spells also being available. So the flashes are up across the board here. This next fight will have everything available.
RNG taking it slow and steady as well. Did the right thing when they had Baron, now building a wall to try and separate the team to take down the bottom lane inhibitor turret. Ray's been caught out, flung backwards, but throughout his ultimate nice and early, deterring RNG from pushing any further forward, but doesn't start a fight for EDG.
Oh, it's solely about the disengage there. Ray by himself tries to hold the structure, keep it standing. And notice that Zatai, he sees the rest of RNG go bottom and says, well, I'm going to mid lane because that's where I'm going to split push. And that does mean that EDG should be able to hold this one. There's no Baron to help take the turrets down.
Super minions are slowly crashing into the base. Ray's forced to deal with this. Teleport's available, but no flanking wards available for EDG. Caster even making sure of that.
This is where the turrets fall if RNG are able to find those opportunities. And whether that's tanking the bottom lane turret whilst the rest of EDG disappear or not.
Can they force? Can EDG force a fight?
I don't think they can really force. They're going to have to, though. You can see Ray's come over, but Iboy's in base, so this is pretty difficult for them to do. In fact, the turret,
he's going to pick up his Black Cleaver, and during that time, RNG break bottom lane inhibitor turret.
They need to fight soon. Ray's hunting for a flank.
There, uses the Righteous Glory, looking to try and find a fight. Locks down Ming, but that's the Shen. Throws down the dodge field, and Iboy can't get enough damage. Titus entire time is attacking the mid lane inhibitor turret, takes that down. Final inhibitor has no protection.
They're on again. This is the fight for EDG.
They're able to find a pick. Haro throws out the ultimate, doesn't dash in just yet. Now going into the middle of the fight. Gallo's going to try and jump in as well. Casa keeping everyone alive, assisting EDG for now. Stopwatch is being blown by everyone that can use them. iBoy still trying to dash around, still looking for the kills, but Let Me gets the first one onto Mako. iBoy finally going now. Rang with the double kill. That's RNG. Find another fight.
And they're just going to try and stop the Maokai from getting back. Talia playing distraction. RNG, they've found that victory and they're sending us to 3.
They're not phased by game 1 nor phased by the aggression in game 2. RNG tie up the series. We're going to game 3.
And once again, RNG, they're a 5-man unit, very strong individual players. Let Me with a standout performance once we got to mid-game. The Talia walls were clutch. The flash body slam was all they needed to start those fights off. And then individual performance from all of RNG in that one skirmish was all it took to give them a lead. They get that lead straight to the Baron buff. And that's all she wrote for EDG in that game, because the Baron was all that RNG needed to secure themselves a victory. And it was a clean showing from that point on.
EDG had a good start there, and the micro interactions that took place around the mid lane turret siege, as well as the botched fight around Dragon, could have been the difference between a one-team fight there, or even potentially an even team fight between RNG and EDG.
There's definitely a chance that if things just played a little bit better for EDG, it could have gone their way. But at the same time, you have to remember the decisions they made prior to the fight, that RNG were realistically just reacting to what was an overextension or a mispositioning from EDG's roster. And at the end of the day, they made the correct play, and they were the ones to capitalize and get that victory.
RNG's reactive play was also just better than EDG, even in the first set. Every single time EDG forced a fight, forced to take an objective, RNG knew, okay, we can trade something somewhere and only stay a little bit behind EDG during the early game. They did that in game 1, wasn't enough. Game 2, when they finally found their opening, you can see from the gold graph itself, 24 minutes in, that's it. It was just a steep climb up.
And you know, I think that Galio is a very strong champion in his current state for certain. But with the Camille missing, with the combo taken away, it didn't really feel like Scout provided anything but support for his team. And when the game was on even footing, it never felt like Scout had the same impact that he did in that first game from just the utility of the ult.
We never really saw him unlocked from the mid lane. It took a lot of resources to actually get Scout onto other sides of the map. So Ty did a very good job of locking him down. To break down that match and to send us to game 3, let's send it back to the desk.
Just like that, RNG, they're proving that they can go the distance. I think that Fish said it best. They're proving that they are not phased by a game 1 defeat and an aggressive game 2 start from EDG. So let's start from the beginning with that game 2 for EDG, because it was aggression. It was 5 kills to 1 for Edward Gaming. They were setting the pace on the map, but RNG, they just kept their cool.
Yeah. I want to go off and say, look, EDG had it rolling in the first parts of the game. I know how you were looking at me. I'm just saying that was a great start for EDG. I understand things went wrong, and it shouldn't have.
Because the reality is that it's not me betting on RNG.
Yeah. Because
yes, I think that they're a great team, but these are both 2 good teams. But it's me betting against Edward Gaming, because I have learned. I have been an EDG fan for a long time, and every time you get behind them, every time you find that second win, the disappointment sinks in. They're effectively the TSM of the LPL.
Oh.
So I'm just waiting for the axe to come down.
Jeez. Are we looking at like the KT Rolster roller coaster is now the equivalent of
it's exactly
EDG?
TSM, Edward Gaming, KT, or no, let's actually say not KT, King Zone.
Yeah.
King Zone, TSM, and Edward Gaming. They're all the same. you get hyped up, you get excited, and then it just hurts.
Then you go to internationals and ooh.
Game 2 at this point, that dragon fight, they're like, okay, yeah, we're in China, right? And then they approach that dragon like, oh, nope, never mind, it's
This
Worlds.
is foreign land. That's essentially what happened.
So let's get into how that actually happened, because again, EDG, they set the pace in that early game. What exactly led to this Edward Gaming falling apart? They played game 1 so clean, aside from a single attempt at the greedy recall in front of the Baron. Game 2, they were setting the aggression. They dropped a single kill. They were ganking top. Then it was just, they took one bad fight and it's over.
It wasn't even the fact that they took the fight. They're just trying to save Private Ryan. It was just the one member array when they were going towards the mid lane and they had moved back. Ray gets caught here. Now, immediately, you want to find a way to protect him. Galio's going to do that. And so you try and find a way back. Problem is, Talia's going to follow up and suddenly cut away from the rest of your team. RNG has found their way back into it. So it all started from that first domino array getting caught out. where this disaster occurred.
I mean, effectively, you had a little bit of gasoline on yourself, and then Edward Gaming just decided to pour the entire canister on themselves and light themselves on fire. Because we're watching this team fight, and Raz and I are both just going, ooh, ooh, oh.
Yeah.
So many parts, it just fell apart. And you say, because you're asking, like, hypothetically, was it just a single team fight? Yeah, it actually was. If you're doing the VOD review of that, and if you're Edward Gaming's coach, you're like, yeah, this moment right here, you lost us the game. Thank you.
So then, do we still get the chance to celebrate Edward Gaming that they are playing at such a high level against Royal Never Give Up that they lose a single team fight and drop the match? Or do we then instead turn to RNG and compliment them for having the caliber to win a single team fight and win the match?
Well,
I'm looking for blame here, and I'm hearing a lot of wishy-washy answers.
Well, I just gave you shade. Ray lost in the game because he made a bad call on the pick. RNG are a good enough team that if you make a type of call like that, they will just end the game. This is the difference between being an okay team and being one of the best teams in the world. You just cannot make those mistakes.
And remember, this is following an OMG versus Vici. So I'm talking about the caliber of competition when it's RNG versus EDG. One mistake can cost you because the composition that you have from RNG are going to be able to take it whole completely.
And also the composition that Edward Gaming had. At that point, when you have a Maokai in the top lane, a Galio in your mid lane, and a Lucian in your bottom lane, there's no late
How are we
game
going to hold that siege at the very end? Yeah. Still, though, it was a good closeout from Royal Never Give Up to finish off that game, though things were looking a little bit touchy with that Kindred. I do want to talk about that a little bit from Karsa. Early game, I want to raise some questions as to why we're seeing this Kindred now.
Do you want to take it?
I'll take it.
Okay. He's got it.
Okay.
I've got you.
Okay. Why are we seeing the Karsa now, Raz?
The Kindred now.
Yeah, that one.
Kindred's great into the matchup of Nocturne.
Okay.
Really strong in the matchup. So what we want to see is Kindred invade a little bit more often. Pre-6 needs to be inside of the jungle to be able to match up. And then when you get into the later portions of the game, I know that Rusty made a mention of it in the casting portion where Kai'Sa as a champion looks to assassinate, looks to jump in, but then you press your ultimate and you actually just get nullified completely in team fights. And this is the same case for Nocturne. So Kindred is perfect against Nocturne in the sense that you do very well in the early skirmishing and then you cancel out his assassination later on.
Because you also have to understand that they picked the Shen early, so it's almost like you force them into the Nocturne. Because the first rotation, I forget which champion it was, but it was not Nocturne.
It was Galio, then Talia Shen.
There you go. So it's Galio, and then they pick the Shen. Nocturne's still open. Nocturne is a hard counter to Shen because it's really difficult to ult. And so it's almost like this trap where they grab the Shen and you're like, what you gonna do?
Then to compare that sort of jungle style, game 1, we saw Haro completely dominate the jungle on the Camille and set up for Edward Gaming with the semi-global composition. Game 2, we saw RNG answer with a Kindred to attempt to deny that jungle style. The question that I want to get to for this game 3 is, was the jungle denial with that Kindred Nocturne what RNG were shooting for, or is this something that we're going to see changed up in 3?
Yeah, because look at how the draft is set up.
I see how I have it here as well.
I know, but I'm saying it's, yes, if you're asking if it was a trap, 100%, because they picked Talia with the Shen, and Talia's a flex pick. So EDG look at that and they say, okay, chances are, yes, Talia could, she is a flex, she can go into Xiaohu's hands, but that could also be the jungle, and we see Shen. Of course they're going to grab the Nocturne right there, especially when they have the Galio. It was just completely set up, and then RNG pull up the fact that they have the Kindred as the counter option, and that it's a jungler that can duel, and also she can deny the assassination potential. So it was just a master plan from Heart for RNG.
Yeah.
And you really do get to see the plans come in motion for both of these coaches, for both Nofe and... Because you see these champions come through, you would expect Red Side to ban them 100% of the time. Nocturne, the Aatrox, and Talia. Those junglers should not even be in the game, but of course being picked out here, it was nice to see that the Nocturne was going to be a 100% response to Talia and was going to be picked away, even knowing that your point that Shen is going to have a tough time going up against the Nocturne, but it was a trap in the sense that you bring in the Kindred and it's like, oh, wait a minute. Now Shen actually has time after the Nocturne ultimate subsides to join the fight and to make it completely difficult for the Nocturne involved. So it comes down to how the team fights get executed, but it's just amplified by the fact that EDG just didn't have damage to follow up in longer skirmishes.
And that was the big difference on that Dragon fight. It was the fact that the Kindred ultimate came through. iBoy overcommits, thinks, okay, I just need to survive the Kindred ultimate, and then I'm still going to have, you know, the damage to cycle through.
And then there's the Stand United on top of it.
And then there was the Stand United on top of it, and suddenly iBoy then has to go over the wall. They're completely out of position.
Yeah.
They get wiped, and then it's the Baron.
Love it. I love how we're celebrating how deep and complex these traps are in picks and bans and in gameplay themselves. The next person that we got to celebrate, though, is Xiao, who in that mid lane, he will take our MVP for that Game 2 performance on his Taliyah. And 3-1-7. I think we can we forgive that one kill in which he dashed into 3 people?
No, I want that on the highlight
reel.
Oh,
we'll keep that on the board.
100% kill participation, though. That's what he was essentially a part of every play. Every defense on mid lane was a big picture to him. And how that play that we were pinning the blame on towards Ray, 100%, it was Xiao that caught him. Flick, and then followed up with the ultimate to cut off the team. So really well done from Xiao from point 1 in the game to the very end.
And this is, again, where we do have to celebrate RNG for taking this. But, guys, I'll give you one last chance to revise your tips. You said RNG, you said EDG. We'll start with you, Frosk. You're looking at the Dynasty, and I can't tell if you're looking at the cracks or celebrating the Monument.
I already told you, I don't flip-flop. I'm not Raz. I'm all for RNG. They're the best team in the world. They're going to take the series.
Real quick, Raz?
I'm staying on this ship.
The sinking one?
This ship will be completely repaired.
All right, well, we'll have to find out if that's the case. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break while we get ready for that Game 3, but don't go anywhere. Our match of the week will be right back.